Oh my God. What are you doing?
Man. Look, I got.
I'm on a work call.
Oh.
They could hear you.
Well, I got that whole guard, and so it's good, man. It looks really, it's great.
Are you drunk?
No. No. Mm-mm. So anyway, I got that on there, and I'm like, this is rocks. I'm gonna write a rockin' song, man. So.
You wrote a
I
song.
wrote this song. What?
You wrote a song.
I wrote, yeah, dude. Check it out. Yeah, hold on. Hey, hold on. I got this full of guard, so I'm gonna keep on dragging.
Is that No Doubt?
The Joby Weld is hard, so I'm gonna keep on dragging.
Dude, that's hella good by No Doubt. You did not make that.
What? Well, I got solos. I need that thing that makes it go talkie. Yeah, it's talkie, but I don't have that.
Dude, we have neighbors and you need to go put on a shirt.
No, you need to come. We're gonna dance. Come dance with me.
I'm not getting near that.
Party. Come party. Come here.
I'm not getting anywhere near that.
Come here, baby. It's a party we're going on. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't feel so good. I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Yeah, definitely staying away from that. Yeah. Oh, nice.
There goes. There goes.
It's not even 1 o'clock. Be quiet.
Alright, so today I've got the Bite FD, and you can see it is not in its normal fishing position. What I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to do a DIY hole guard system on here. And let me get a better perspective on it. You can see here, this boat, as you come down here, look how sharp this keel sticks above the rest of the hole. I mean, it is very pronounced. So anytime you drag this boat, or you need to try to launch, what happens is this section right here like basically takes almost all the weight of the kayak and puts it on this surface. I know people talk about dragging boats and that it's not harmful for that, but I've only had this boat out maybe 6 or 7 times, and this is already what's happened coming in and off of boat ramps. Just you know, having to move the boat around and drag it, and sometimes kind of, you know, push it off a boat ramp to get going. So yeah, I'm not gonna watch my keel just get disintegrated. There are commercial hole guard products available, and I'm sure they work really well. But what I'm gonna try doing here is I'm gonna do something a little bit off the beaten path, and we're gonna see how well it works. But you can see right here, so this is gonna be my plan. I'm basically gonna hit this whole section right here and add a hole guard to it, and run that all the way back here to where you can see the drive. And I may also stick a section in the back there too, because you can see back here, this is one of the things that they've done to try to accentuate the tracking, and you can see where the you can see where it wears right there too. You know, they do have this skid guard on there, but that's taking some wear right up there on the top of the hole, or excuse me, on the back of this keel. And so I think I may add a section there as well for my hole guard. So that is going to be the plan, and let's see how it turns out. Okay, so what I've done here, first of all, as you can see, I've got some pretty coarse sandpaper here. I believe this is a 60 grit, and I just grabbed whatever I had for a belt sander that I've got. I'm actually just taking this just very lightly, not wanting to really remove any layers at all. Just very lightly going around and roughing up the surface here that I want to apply my hole guard to. The point of that is to just rough up this plastic and just kind of give it some surface area to adhere onto. As you can hear, like, that's pretty rough. And basically, you know, you just don't want that slick plasticky finish on there, because it'll make it more difficult for the hole guard to want to stick and adhere properly. So you do want to rough this up a little bit. Next thing will be to clean some of this off and make sure it's a nice dust-free surface so it'll get good adherent. But I've done this here, I've sanded here, and then I've also sanded in the stern as well, back up here on this section, and made sure that it was roughed up as well. All right, so I cleaned this off with some alcohol on a rag and just made sure and got all the dust and whatever dirt I could off of there. What I'm going to do now, this is like the biggest batch of JB Weld I've ever mixed up at one time, is I'm just going to spread, that's right, JB Weld over this. I have no idea whether I've mixed enough or not. I'm just going to spread it on like you know, you would like drywall putty, and just try to, you know, that's why I've got this taped off, so if it's a little bit messy, it won't get on the kayak. And then after it's dried up, I'm going to sand this down. All right, so here's what it looks like after running this down the length of the bow. And you can note here too, I did put some frog tape on here, some painter's tape, so that hopefully this thing will pull off cleanly and leave a nice smooth edge so it won't look too janky. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and sand this up after it's set up, but this has just been applied. And then you can see back here at the stern as well. I'm going to have to make sure and get that separated because I want to be able to remove this skid guard later. You can see I got a little bit sloppy there with some of the JB Weld, but you know, I like to say JB Weld is duct tape for people who know what they're doing. I know I've used it on plastics and it's done very, very well. It is incredibly tough stuff, and so as long as it bonds well to the HDPE that the kayak is made out of, I think this is going to be a really, really durable option for a hole guard. We will give it time and we will let it set up, and then I'll come back after I've gotten it sanded. One thing I forgot to mention, you want to make sure and remove the tape along the edges here before the JB Weld sets. As you can see, I have already pulled the tape off and I've got a pretty nice clean line there running down, as you can see, down the bow lines. I mean, not too bad. And like I say, I'll clean some of the rough edges up a little bit when I sand, but that is looking pretty good so far. Like I say, just make sure if you tape that edge up to get a nice clean edge, just make sure and remove that before the JB Weld sets up. I'm not sure how cleanly it would try to pull off after the JB Weld has set. I'm guessing not too well. So, all right, we'll check back in on this tomorrow after it's had a full amount of cure time and see if we can get this thing sanded down and maybe ready for this weekend. All right, so it's the next morning after I put the JB Weld on, and unfortunately, I guess maybe you can see on the boat here, we got some rain overnight, and so that really impacted the cure on the JB Weld. It looked like it was curing up fine. I mean, it didn't, you know, slough off or anything in the rain, but I did decide that I wanted to go ahead and make sure this was going to be set properly. So I have, because it was still a little bit just kind of tacky and a little bit gummy this morning. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through and I'm hitting this with a heat gun. Now, this heat gun has two different settings on it. So you can see there's a 1 and a 2. And what I am doing is I am putting this on the 2 setting. Buyer beware. If you're going to do this at home, use extreme caution. This plastic obviously will melt. That's how they mold them in the first place. You get enough heat on these things and it will deform, it will start to sag, so you have to be very, very careful. Let me show you the technique I'm using here to make sure that I don't overheat this. So if you watch here, I'm making sure and putting it directly on the JB Weld, and then I'm moving. You just stay in a spot for a second or two and then you move. Then the way I like to do this too, these spots that I hit, I'll kind of just make sure, kind of hand test it and make sure how hot it's getting as well. Because if it's getting to the point where it's really too hot to touch, or it starts to burn you, then it's going to potentially melt your plastic. What you want to do is just kind of heat this up enough just so it'll get some of the moisture out, and it'll start to stiffen up on this surface area. You don't want to heat it up too much and, like I say, risk deforming the plastic. So just be very, very, very careful if you decide to accelerate the cure time on your JB Weld. I cannot emphasize enough, be really, really careful with these heat guns, because that's game over, man. You heat that up too much and it is game over. So after the heat gun treatment and giving it a little bit more time to dry out some and kind of cure, I have gone ahead and sanded the JB Weld down, and you can tell it still looks a little bit rough, but when you run your hands over it, it's nice and smooth. So this is how it looks now with the hole guard on it. And I tell you, I think this is going to work okay. I'll post updates on it and let you know how this turned out. But that is pretty much the end of this project. Like I say, I think, you know, hole guards out there, there are plenty of commercially made products available. Might very well work better than this one. This is where I'm going to start, though, because I had JB Weld already sitting around the house. I had painter's tape sitting around the house, and I had sandpaper sitting around the house. So this project's like cost me nothing. And if you did have to go buy that stuff, I think if you went and bought like the large size of JB Weld, I think it's about 15 bucks. So you might be out something like 15 bucks. If you have sandpaper sitting around, yeah, you're good, man. You're good. All right, this is another project in the books. I'll keep you updated how it turns out. So one thing I want to do is provide a quick update on this hole guard, and I've used this thing now since I've installed this JB Weld. I've used the boat probably about 4 times, and you can kind of see here on the surface right here, if I can get this to focus. There we go. You can kind of see maybe a little bit right there, and then up there. I've actually created a little bit of a patch. That's one thing I really like about using JB Weld is, you know, this section right here did get ground off after about probably the 4th trip. And so, you know, again, took me about 30 seconds, and then I whipped up just a little bit more JB Weld, stuck that in there as a patch, and now that's adhered back on top of the old JB Weld. And you really can't tell much there at all. And then it took like, you know, just maybe 30 seconds of sanding, and we were right back into good as new. So, you know, one thing I do like about this, you can just kind of repatch as needed, but this has held up really, really well. You can see this section back here got drug on some concrete, and you can see how well that's held up, and no plastic has started to peek through there. So I'm really pleased with the performance of this, and I think this is probably going to be a winner. Like I say, cheap as hell too.